Welcome to the Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Creager. Todd has over 35 years of experience working with thousands of couples as a licensed therapist in his private practice. Todd shares his insights on this show. It's never too early to divorce-proof your marriage or too late to heal yourselves and have the relationship you truly want.
Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager, and today I'm talking to you about attachment styles and infidelity. I work a lot with individuals and couples trying to heal from infidelity. And even though there are multiple factors that can contribute to the actual act of betrayal, and even though there are multiple factors that will affect the person who's betrayed in a specific way, that one of the things we must never overlook is attachment style. As I've been talking about in other talks, attachment style is basically the way we attach to our parents as young children and as we got older. And so if you had a secure attachment, it meant that you had parents that more times than not tuned into you and that you felt like you were gotten, that you were understood. And when you have that, it's a little easier when you get to be an adult and you have an intimate relationship to be in a secure relationship. Of course, that also depends on your partner's attachment style coming in. But it just means it's possible when you have a secure attachment, let's say with your parents first, before we go to your intimate partnership, it typically means that you learn the capacity to self-soothe and calm yourself down so that you're not overly depending on others to regulate you. But at the same time, you're not under depending on others either, and not overly depending on just yourself. And you're able to allow others to support you, to listen to you, to be there for you. You can allow them to lift you up and to calm you down. And so that is a secure attachment style. And an insecure attachment style oftentimes means that we don't have the ease in terms of those kinds of ways of regulating ourselves because of the way we attach to our parent. In the anxious attachment style, it oftentimes means you're overly dependent on somebody else to regulate you. And oftentimes you've come from a parent or parents where they were inconsistently there. That they didn't just have a bad moment or day, that could really be a significant time that they weren't able to tune into you. So if you have that kind of attachment style, it's more difficult to learn how to regulate yourself. You become overly dependent on somebody else is always being there, making sure you're safe. You can't tolerate a whole lot of distance. And then the other kind of insecure attachment style that I'll talk about today is the avoidant attachment style. There is a fourth I'm not getting into because it doesn't come up a whole lot, even though it does. But this one is the avoidant attachment style, where you've learned that when you're emotionally young, and when you're a young child, I'm saying, and you have an emotional pain or discomfort, that you just turn to yourself. You've at some point tried to turn to a parent, but they really weren't able to tune into you. One reason or another, they were not able to make you feel like it's rewarding to share with this other person and let them be a support for you. So you learn to solve your emotional problems on your own and wall off. And so after that, then what you end up doing, aside from this attachment style, is you go into an intimate relationship, oftentimes having a very difficult time letting others regulate you. You have a very difficult time allowing yourself to feel supported, by allowing yourself to be heard by the other person, because you learn much younger that it doesn't really help. So it's not rewarding. That's the avoidant attachment style. And the one I just spoke of previously, the anxious attachment style, that's one where you grow up, you're in an intimate relationship and you have a really hard time soothing yourself, and you may overreact to any kind of distance, any kind of disappointment, as if this person doesn't love you or is gone and will never come back. So there's those kinds of things where you have. And we're in the secure relationship again. If you are coming from a secure background, it's easier for you to Regulate yourself when you get disappointed by the other person, maybe for whatever reason let you down, and you don't make it into a big issue. And at the same time, you can also allow that person to be there for you. So now let's talk about infidelity. So I have found that a person who has a secure relationship with their partner has a very low chance of cheating. The reason for that is because they are able to allow the other person to be there for them, so they really feel close. And there's not a habit of hiding, or as I call it, even micro hiding, like hiding little things because you've learned that this is a person you could be open with. At the same time, you're also someone who can regulate and tolerate stress without immediately acting out. So a person who is developing that kind of secure relationship with their partner has a lower chance of cheating. A person that has an anxious attachment, they may run to somebody if, let's say, the your partner has a parent who is in terrible health or dying, and they have to go be with that parent for a while and not with you, and you have an anxious attachment style where you need that person present for you to be calm, you might get really anxious and may act out by finding somebody who can soothe you. And I've seen that. I've seen that for sure. I would say by far, though, the more common attachment style, even though I have seen anxious attachment style, but by far the more common one is the avoidant attachment style. I've seen that more times than the others, when you are the kind of person that doesn't really let your partner support you, that you don't share a whole lot of yourself because you learn not to, that you tend to have walls, you tend to be more distant, you tend to have not been as invested emotionally. I'm not saying you're not invested into the committed relationship or the marriage, but you might not be invested from your heart in the same way because you haven't been vulnerable. You haven't shared your heart in a way. And so it might make it easier for a person with the avoidant attachment style to develop another attachment, or even have a one night stand or a mini night stand or whatever it is, because they're not as invested. Also, the other reason is that because they're not great at receiving love and care, there's this part of them that is dependent, that has been undernourished. And so they may, on some level, depend on a new person's level of attention or a new person's level of praise, let's say, because they haven't allowed themselves to get that close in a deep way to their partner. So there's little less investment emotionally, but also there might be a hole that this person with the avoidant attachment style is trying to fill by acting out cheating. I tend to compare it to eating fast food versus healthy food. And so a person who has an avoidant attachment style and doesn't really allow themselves to get emotionally nourished from their partner, like healthy food, maybe settle for fast food. Fast food fills you up. It might make you feel bad later, but it does fill you up. So that's the metaphor I use. Now, that's on the betraying person side. On the betrayed person side, a person who is in a secure relationship, or at least they feel secure. Let's say they're securely attached, whether their partner is or isn't, but their partner cheats on them. Of course, that's going to shift, and the secure relationship won't be as secure. She won't feel, or he won't feel, as securely attached now, and will resort to possibly more anxious attachment style or an avoidance attachment style. If you have someone who already came into the relationship with an anxious attachment style, which is someone who is constantly needing the reassurance, and then they get betrayed, it's like proof that, once again, I can't count on anybody. And I'm highly anxious. And this person is going to oftentimes have a lot of anxiety symptoms. Their nervous system is really activated, and their partner isn't soothing them because they're the cause of the person who betrayed is the cause of the pain. So it can really create a lot of anxiety for someone who already was anxiously attached. And I know even if you're a very securely attached person, if you found out your partner's cheating, you could, of course, be anxious. I'm just saying this compounds it. If you come into the relationship and you're avoidantly attached as the betrayed partner, then you might have a tendency to, again, like with the anxiously attached, I see, can't count on someone, and your walls will go up even stronger, and you'll definitely have a much harder time being vulnerable. If you already were one of those people that were avoidantly attached and had a hard time being vulnerable, this makes it worse. So I'm describing that. Now, one of the things that I do with individuals and couples is I help them shift both individually and as a couple to a more secure style. And really, not only is it healing and important for all of us to try to achieve, but it also really is the main antidote for infidelity. Developing a secure relationship where you can communicate and be heard and to hear and listen and express. There is nothing more important than that. And I've helped thousands of couples do that. So we can change our attachment style, as I've said in previous presentations. So I just wanted to give you a little talk about attachment styles and its relationship to infidelity and how attachment styles can increase or decrease the risk of infidelity, and also why it might happen. And also, I'll say one last thing. The crisis of infidelity is a crisis. But as I said before, the word crisis in Chinese is made of two characters. One by itself means danger, the other by itself means opportunity. And the crisis of infidelity is no different. It is a sense of danger. Will we ever be the same? Will we stay together? Will we not? But it also does present itself as an opportunity to create a healthier balance, to go more towards an earned, or they call it an earned, secure relationship between the couple who probably didn't have that before, where both people could regulate themselves, but also regulate each other. Both people can take care of themselves, but allow the other person to take care of them too. So that's what I wanted to say, again, about attachment styles and infidelity. Thank you for listening. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.
That's it for today's episode of Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Creager. For free resources and materials, head over to toddcreager.com. Loved this episode? Head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.